Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Swapnali, and on behalf of Omni, welcome you all for this exclusive roundtable on digital sprint accelerating shift towards a demand led model. I would thank all of you for sparing your time today and joining us for this session. Giving a brief background about this roundtable, the events of 2020 and 2021 have highlighted the need to adopt to a more calculated, sensible approach of production. Companies need to reduce complexity in assortment and find ways to avoid market markdown, under or overstock, and maintain optimum inventory levels by taking a demand focused approach to their assortment strategy. Moreover, cu- customers now demand even more sophisticated brand interaction and expect their needs to be fulfilled at their convenience. Today, at this roundtable discussion, we'll explore how brands, retailers can build a more agile supply chain by using advanced analytics and give birth to a more streamlined business model that is better suited to the fluid environment and beyond. To set up the context and take the discussions forward, I would invite our speakers for the day. We have Mr. Saurabh Gupta, who is the CIO at Kentaro Systems Limited. Mr. Ashwin Prajapati, CIO at Symphony Limited, Mr. Sanjeev Maini, VP Operations Supply Chain Management at Kitware Group, Mr. B.S. Vishal, VP Marketing, Vivek's The Unlimited Shop, Mr. Vaidyanathan Ganesh, who is the Head IT and Digital Transformation at RBEI, Mr. Tanay Israni, who is Regional Sales Director at Oppo India, and Mr. Chandan Roy, who is Online Business Head at Turtle. And the overall roundtable would be moderated by Mr. Tapan Acharya, who is the CRO at Me Arvind Industries. Over to you, Tapan sir, to take the discussion forward from here.
Thank you, Swapnali. My warm welcome to all my equals, my betters on this panel, to Saurabh, to Ashwin, to Sanjeev, to all the folks, to Mr. Ganesh Mahadevan, to Vishal, uh, to Tanay, everyone. My warm welcome to all of you folks. Uh, as we get there, and I know we have cumulative 100 plus years or touching 150 years of cumulative experience on this panel. So it is very difficult for me to introduce you all. Your designation is just the face of the introduction, but you have achieved so much in your roles, and you've observed this industry for so long. So I would also say that when you're talking for the first time, just give me and all the panelists a two-line introduction of yourself, uh, and then we can listen to your points. Uh, in the last year and a half, I've seen a massive shift in from my perspective, and I've seen a digital sprint where the entire model has changed. There is a natural need to marry the online, the offline. The working capital has been very, very tight. So it is not possible to keep a separate assortment for a marketplace, or a separate assortment for a particular channel, or a separate assortment for offline only. And I have gone through a lot of experience on that for approximately 100 brands. But I want to, and you folks are experts in your domain, in separate categories and in separate lines. So I want to hear from you first, and starting with Mr. Sanjeev Maini first. Have you seen a digital sprint in your particular line, your industry, and what is the kind of accelerated pace you have seen? If you can put some personal experience and numbers there, it'll be great. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Okay,
And also,
thank you so much for inviting me for this today panel discussion for this digitization. I think it's a very interesting topic. First, I would talk something about my experience. I have more than 25 years experience by working in consumer durable, building and construction, telecom sector, smart devices, power, energy, and automobile. So I covered many industries during my 25 years of working, and I've been working with many multinationals as well now this current assignment with the Hinware Group. Okay, this is a small history for my different experiences in different businesses. And currently, I'm focused more on the supply chain, business operations, and the supply chain transformation roles. and I've executed one supply chain transformation project globally also while working with Huawei Technologies, which is probably a very big company in the telecom side and the smart devices side. Maybe people understand that company. But I would focus more on that was actually global transformation role which I delivered. That was more towards the probably expanding the company at the global level, reach out to the company, where probably a company can deliver any equipment globally within 8 to 12 weeks, which probably earlier was a challenge to deliver between almost 12 to 60 weeks, So we cut short the delivery time, and we delivered a global transformation program to see that we opened some delivery centers globally to cover for the various markets. So that was a very challenging program which I delivered. So with that kind of experience, actually now Hinware actually was looking for some kind of again supply chain transformation, because this is a very old company, and they wanted that probably a lot of inventory issues here, and they wanted that someone probably who can align the business along with the sales. The company was struggling with the sale loss of almost 20%. I think you mentioned today probably we should talk something about the figures. Company was struggling to have the sale of about 20% every year. Reason being, there are so many SKUs in the product line of consumer durables and the building and construction side, and it was not easy probably to have the demand planning, which probably has to come from the sales side. That was always a big challenge here. So what we did is we made a very exhaustive supply chain transformation project in the organization, which probably has to cover from the sales, and then maybe move down to the demand planning, supply planning, and then the procurement, manufacturing, and delivery to the to the end customer. So we did this global, is maybe domestic transformation project here. So what actually, in fact, we involved Deloitte also here along with us, because thing is, when you work with the very old company, probably you have to see that a leadership team gets involved on the manufacturing side, as well as they get involved on the sales side, as well as from the finance side, so that maybe the company takes care of the total delivery of the maybe total goal of the maybe total project. So if I say what did we do in the digitalization? So we delivered the entire project on SAP. We did deliver total project on HANA here. So because initially what I find, maybe I myself traveled to many districts of the probably we have been doing business. What happens is when you talk to the salespeople are always interested to see that probably the product is delivered at any given point of time, whether they're given the forecast for the particular item or not. Because thing is, when company is doing the manufacturing, 50-60% in-house manufacturing, but same time we have almost 40% business which come from the trading also. We have the contract manufacturing which happens in China. We have the contract manufacturing which happens in the Europe. We have contract manufacturing which happens within India, and of course we own many manufacturing units. So it's supply chain for the total delivery is a big challenge here, because people on the sales side, they don't want to create a demand in system, which is a very big challenge here, because people always feel the product should be available off the shelf to sell, but then they never understand that probably any particular product to buy or source or manufacture, that has got a long delivery time. Especially if we are talking about the products which are coming outside India, and with this pandemic coming, China's sourcing was a big challenge. So what we did is we made a total supply chain transformation project here, where we wanted to cut the challenge was to cut the total sale loss figure from 20% to 5%. That was the project we took it out here. So what we did is we probably, of course, the national sales head is involved with us for particular this project, but we took this project to the hub heads, or even we took it to the regional heads for the sales, to make them understand why this is important, because unless they don't create the forecast in the system, it is very difficult for us to maybe supply or maybe meet their demand, to understand what they need for on maybe a monthly basis or quarterly basis. So,
noted your point on the forecasting aspect. Let me, in the same way, move ahead on the digital sprint and cover a little bit of other industry challenges as well.
So, right.
I have made a couple of points on how there was a loss of sale and how the demand and sales was orthogonal to each other, and how the planning gap was there. I, in the same breath, want to take the same point to Saurabh. And sort of just want to check with you, what is the kind of digital sprint that you have seen in the last 1.5 years? Very focused on the digital sprint. And what's the acceleration that you've seen, because you have an experience of a couple of decades? So how the changes you've seen? Over to you, Saurabh. Saurabh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. My name is Saurabh. I'm Chief Information Officer for Kent, and as my son most of the time calls me, I'm a computer mechanic, head of the computer mechanic at Kent Arrow Systems. So I think when you look at the digitization or digitalization, it started when the demonetization process was started. I think that process was already in process when most of the people started accepting digital payments, and they had to align their systems to start doing that. Then the GST was another big push where people had to move to digitization as well as digitalization. So they had to align the processes and as well as convert their offline processes to online. What this pandemic has done, it has accelerated the entire paradigm of the shift to digitalization. And it is, I think, very much evident in the current market also. And this pandemic is a reality check for the business that have been reluctant to embrace digital transformation and who are now finding it extremely difficult to stay in the business. So I think so. We are, if as you know, Kent is mostly we are a retail player, so we are heavily dependent on the sales from the shops. Uh, so, but this is a kind of product which is which people require. It's not no more water purifier is no more a luxury, but a demand necessity for everyone. So we have not seen the demand going down. So I don't see that the demand has gone down. It may be a pent up demand which will come up in a month or a week or 10 days as the market has started opening up. I don't see. But what this entire pandemic has done, so whatever the processes which we had designed for our organization in terms of digitalization, which were put on hold or people were not accepting them, I think those have been pushed tremendously. I'll just give you some certain examples. So we used to have demonstration videos for our products. Sales folks always felt that they want to travel to each customer's house. They want to give them brochure, talk to them. These videos were never used, to be very honest, before the pandemic. And now suddenly we find that everybody is using them, talking to customers on WhatsApp, Zoom. They've started using these things extensively. I see even our field sales staff doing Zoom conference calls at 9 o'clock, which is an amazing thing which has happened.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So it has reduced the expenses, increased the reach, and at the same time started giving a very good experience to the customer, because when you have such designed videos, such designed content which you want to convey to the customer, it becomes easy for organization to push the brand message, which we were finding it difficult because you had to train a salesperson and then the messaging keeps changing. But once they start using these tools, you find them exactly delivering what you want to deliver, and it in the end gives a better experience to the customer. Similarly, in the service, if you look at it, previously, even if for a smallest of small thing, people used to call us for repairs. Now customer insists that we explain them the do it yourself kind of a thing, that okay fine, you just screw up this particular thing, then thing will start working fine, which would have been I mean like impossible if you would have done it before pandemic. People would have just cursed us that you have delivered a product, now you're not supporting us for a warranty. So I think there is a tremendous shift both from customers point of view as well as the organizational point of view that this pandemic has brought in. I personally do not feel that it impacts the demand or the sales that much. I think that's a pent up demand and it'll anyway come out. If your business model is genuine and your product is adding value to a customer, the customer is going to buy it. He may buy it or today, or he may buy it after 10 days. That person is going to buy it for sure. If you do not have a business model which adds value to a customer, obviously, I mean, whether it is a pandemic or non-pandemic, it is going to fail over a period of time. That's my point of view.
Uh, Saurabh, this is fantastic input, and I have made a note of the way the sales used to happen. And of course, you've mentioned that there were a previous waves of digital payments and GST. From that standpoint, even the acceleration has gone up. That's a fantastic comparison to have. And I have seen the same thing. I have been at Arvind Internet. We power all the brands for omni-channel retail. And in the past, for me, when I was talking about omni-channel to all my clients, it was like selling vitamins. Nobody was
Yes.
interested in it.
Nobody.
And now suddenly in the pandemic, that has become a painkiller. My order
Correct.
volume has grown 6x on an omni-channel.
Sure.
Earlier, in any brand, an omni-channel P&L used to be 3% or to 5% of the overall P&L.
Very true.
Right now, I am having 25% of 30 to 30% P&L of be it electronics brand, be it fashion and lifestyle brands, totally based on omnichannel.
No, I think the same goes for any video conferencing solution. If you look at the kind of video conferencing solution, the kind of shares or the kind of value that they are bringing in. So it has definitely accelerated the way we are doing things.
Correct. At this point of time, I also want to bring in Vishal. Vishal, how do you see the acceleration and how do you see the digital sprint? Over to you, Vishal, and also a quick introduction about yourself.
Sure. Hi, I've been in the retail industry for about 11 years now. I've handled both from the product side as well as the marketing side. So, and now I also handle the e-commerce for Vivex. So, I would probably divide this subject into 2 years. So, one, obviously, the last year, which everything started, and this year, whatever we are trying to do. So, last year, I think there were a lot of learnings by the week and every month. We had to take a lot of crucial decisions in terms of our stores, our lean inventory, our smaller warehouses, and see to that we get our WhatsApp commerce integrated, see to that our website has a better presentation. So in the end, we also saw brands such that they started actually bringing down their SKUs. For example, take an LG or a Samsung or even a mobile brand. Each of them had 30 models, 40 models, 50 models. They were forcing us to have all the models possible, which definitely was not viable for us. And today, I think all of them have realized that it doesn't make sense having so much. At the end of the day, their supply chain, their resources, their materials also do not suffice. So all of them today actually no more. It is more of pressure of buying. It's more like what is there we buy. So that is a thing that has happened today. So that way, I mean, between last year and this year, I think at Vivex, what we have done is one is definitely this WhatsApp commerce has taken off really well for us. We get about 1,000 to 2,000 customers on through WhatsApp commerce. And then this year, we're seeing, I think there is a spike up demand through video commerce. And
Just one second, Vishal, 1,000 to 2,000 customers per day, per week, per month.
No,
What's the
in a month.
in a month? Okay, perfect. Over to you. Over to you.
And this time we are seeing a lot of, I mean, offline it was WhatsApp video calls were happening and various other video chats were happening. We are seeing how to get that organized because we couldn't have a control of whether it was the promoter or whether it's a salesman who was sitting and engaging with the customers. So we thought we need to have video commerce, and we are in the process of implementing that soon. So in terms of demand-led project, I would, yes, again, I said, whatever the supply chain has, today we are forced to sell, irrespective of the category. I remember from last year to this year, dishwasher category was always in demand. Definitely houses wanted to be self-sufficient. But till date, I mean, it's 1 year of pandemic. They tell us that on a week, you will get 50 machines, 100 machines, 250 machines. Whether it's a water purifier brand, whether it's a Sony LED brand. Sony LED brand, I would say from last year to this year, entire Chennai would have not gone beyond 5,000 to 6,000 pieces. Where in a month, they used to sell anywhere between 15,000 to 20,000 for a state. And in the month of Jan, Feb, March, I would say barely we got even 500 to 600 pieces of Sony LEDs. So such is the state of Sony. So if I take brand to brand, category to category, things are very different.
Absolutely with you. I see a couple of our colleagues have not switched on their video. It will be good if they can switch on their videos. It will be good to have, all of you together. But I just want to, good to see Ashwin also. Hi, Ashwin.
Hi.
I also want to move first to Ganesh, then to Tanay, and then to Ashwin. Ganesh, want to hear from you. How's the digital sprint impacted? You have 15 plus years of experience and, from the IT side as well, and you have a couple of patents in your name. So Ganesh, over to you.
Hey, Hi. So hope you can hear me. Okay. So nice to see all of you and being sound and safe at the same time. Very fortunate to be part of this esteemed panelist group. And first of all, my warm greetings to all. So I'm Ganesh. I'm actually my work location is Bangalore, but currently based out of a place called Palakkad in my wife's place. So that's where I am. It's a small village called Chitlanjeri near Palakkad. So about myself, so I have close to around 15 plus years of experience and predominantly worked in IT consulting, right, across the arena. I'm full stack technology leader. I have played various roles, and in this context, so I have also I remember Sanjeev spoke about HANA. So I have also authored a book on HANA. Just a side note. So I predominantly from an SAP background, of course, now into completely digital transformation. So in the digital sprint, keeping that as the context, right? So we today I'm working in RBEI, Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solution for the last 1 year. So I am taking care of the IT applications and digital transformation topics. So we are a professional service organization. Right? Having said that, we are not a homogenized organization. So we have 40 to 50% of mobility solutions, and we also have a professional service organization, a software engineering capability, and we have a very hybrid services offering to Bosch and also to global organizations. So we are also having a global consulting arm. So having said that, the inflow or the way we have catered to this. So in the wave one or from last March to June, so our president keeps calling ourselves as a logistic organization because we have to transport labs and lab equipments to the respective home of our engineers because we involve in deep testing of the respective products, right? Because Bosch and RBEI, hope all of you know about it. So we have a varied uh, engineering solutions that caters across, right? Be it car multimedia, be it engineering services, be it powertrains, and also to the other software and IoT sensors. Right? So of course, the immediate thing what we have to do from a digital sprint context is number one, we have to make sure the business continuity takes place without having any impact. And number two, right, mainly from the IoT and the other engineering services, we have to make sure the lab testing doesn't impact. Then we immediately created uh, a, a bot as a service, right? And we launched it at a large scale where they can start requesting anything and everything from a shipping perspective so that we can first take care of the logistic from a testing perspective, because that was the biggest quintessential part in the entire supply chain or the distribution, without which our products will not be tested and we can't fulfill any of our customers, be it global, local, domestic, and also our other continents. Right? Of course, we are spread across Vietnam and Mexico, and we have a smaller footprint in other regions across Europe, but these are the predominant prevailing regions. That was the biggest challenge that we have had. And second is the infrastructure, the run as a topic, right? The run IT as a topic. To run the status quo itself was a big challenge because we are 60% manufacturing, 30% product and services, and 10% subscription-based organization. So having the heterogeneity has really created a status quo of fulfilling the digital sprint across this portfolios. So these are the major challenges that we have had in last year.
Great, Ganesh. I will come back to you with another question, but I
Please.
also want to, and I've noted your points on how to, or make it to the next phase for product testing and for to run your infra. These two questions I'll come back to you on. I want to move to Tanay. Tanay, you are again from the retail side at Oppo. So how did you see the digital sprint, and what's your take on the acceleration?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Tanay. I take care of the offline sales for Oppo, especially in the northern part of India, Haryana, let's say. I was listening to everybody, and yes, it was all correct. Sanjeev ji said that supply chain is under pressure, and yes, because the sales guys don't give the forecast. Oh, that's true. When demonetization happened, I mean, we thought that, oh, I just don't know what is going to happen, but the demands shot up. All right. Because people just had some tons load of cash and they were going to the shops and the mobile phones were being sold in black, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 rupees higher than the regular price. And after that, when, how to say, when this pandemic during the first lockdown during last year, we thought that, oh, what is going to happen to the demand now? The demand shot up. All the classes, everything, people sat at home, all the classes, all the schools, they started happening from home and everybody wanted to buy a mobile phone. And at that time, what happened was that previously we generally, on a regular side, if I would say that the mobile phones are regular without any push or anything. If people were coming generally, yeah, just give me a mobile phone. People were looking after a mobile phone in 8 to 10,000, and now the people are looking at a mobile phone in the range of, let's say, 12 to 15,000. You know, not going high, but definitely the ASP has increased a little when without any push, I would say. And there are so many things. And then when we thought that, okay, now it is all okay, and now it will be higher as compared to last year. If I talk about 2020 as compared to 2019, when we thought that it will be little higher, then I would say that Q4 2020 was at a modest decline of 4%. Q4 2020. Why? Because as we all know that we had a global chip shortage for mobile phones, for automotives, and everybody that uses semiconductors. So that was less. But then when we come to 2021 Q1, the pent up demand from 2020 was there, and the shipments were 38 million. So that was again higher. So what happened was that the companies, when there was a global chip shortage for 4G, they started moving towards 5G. So now in India, we are selling 5G handsets, which, I mean, we do not have 5G rolled out in India till now from the telecom operators. But people who want to buy the phones, they would see that, okay, 5G handset hai as compared to 4G handset, chalo mere ko ye de do. Because they would not want to change it for next 1 year to 2 years, right? So they would say, okay, chalo 5G mere ko mil raha hai. And for 5G, the handsets that were initially being sold somewhat around 34990 or 35990, the 5G handsets are now available at 15990, 16990. So the global chip shortage and definitely the demand, I mean, it has changed the product portfolio. If we see 3 years before, the configuration that we were selling at, let's say, 12,000, 13,000. So 3 years after, so now the same configuration is being sold around 9,000. So yes, that is the demand that is led by the user. And if we take about how to say the digital thing, so we launched our AI chatbots, we launched our digital stores. You would have seen Apple also has launched the digital store in India. So for because customers, they don't want to go out. We were talking about those video demos from Saurabh ji told about video demos and all. So definitely automotives now they are, you go to ident, somebody went to Audi, and then yes, they sent him the video demo ki bhai ye dekho, sitting at home, you can try to see, feel how would the road be and how would the car be. So yes, these all things have started and they're growing. And considering the omni channel is growing, so Tapan, I am sure even you would be very excited considering being the CRO and also, yes. she would also be enjoying that.
No, there are fantastic points, and with numbers, the way the ASP has changed, with the impact on shortage of chipset, with the kind of shipments delivered, was the decline of key components. Fantastic and very nicely put with actual facts. I want to come back to you with, and I have 2-3 sets of questions, and I want to, move forward the first set of questions and come back to you with the second and third set of questions. So let me go to Ashwin ji. Ashwin.
Yes, hi. Yeah, thanks first of all. Yeah, hello.
Yes, just want to ask a question that how has the demand acceleration happened for you? And if you can put some numbers around what is the rate of acceleration for you in the digital sprint, that'll be great. Over to you.
Sure. So yeah, hi, this is Ashwin. Actually, I have worked almost 30 years of experience. Out of that, 12 years I worked for a manufacturing companies, and also 12 years into SAP consulting, where I was a practice director in one of the top consulting firm. In my third phase of career, now I'm a group CIO taking care of global IT functions for Symphony Limited. And since a Symphony, we also have a group companies into the country like China, Mexico, Australia, US. These are the countries where we operate. So I take care of all group IT function, including India. So when it comes to the already my friend Saurabh and all have explained. At one point, I wanted to say, apart from COVID and other factor, the push for digital is one affordable internet. So because of affordable internet by Jio followed by other players and all, that is also one of the reason for which that digital push is there. And when it comes to our type of industries, we are into the seasonal industry, where we are leader into the air cooling business. And in that also, what we found that we have gone for first time we have gone for B2C directly. Otherwise, we are into B2B, where we have a distributor and we only sell to the distributor, and distributor goes to the dealer, and dealer go to end customer. But this year we have gone with our own e-commerce portal, where consumer can directly log into the portal and buy cooler, and we ship one cooler also to the end customer. Other than that, we also have a almost we in the first March we launched this our own website for our e-commerce site for sale, and we could able to make a sizable amount of sales in just 2 months. Even though there is a lockdown and all constraints are there, still we could able to make good progress. And about lead management also, we use Facebook, and with first this year we extensively use the Facebook and other digital media for campaigning, and could able to generate at least in this type of this time also 10 to 15,000 lead per day. So this is pure power of digital platforms what we use. Services also we have start using WhatsApp for business, where through WhatsApp and speech to text technology you can register your complaint. And so these are many these type of initiatives we have pushed in this year, including digital transformation toward most of our documents are digitized. Because last year we faced the issue when we wanted to have audit, and there was a lockdown. So this year we make sure that all our important business documents are digitized, and it has to be available. So these are the different digital push we did.
Beautiful, and fantastic, very in vogue, in fashion steps you've taken, a D2C portal for your product directly reaching to the customer, a lead management system through Facebook. Also, you're measuring the leads. You're saying 10K to 15K leads per day. That means you're measuring your entire marketing spend. That means you're measuring your entire marketing impact. Fantastic.
And Tapan, one point, sorry, I want to add one point is that, because we have around 300 sales executive into the market. What we did that in CRM, through CRM, they could get the lead to be allocated, and daily what calls they are making. Our executive journal heads can able to actually see the recording of those leads. That it's not that I made this many calls, but what was the conversion, that also we could able to look.
This
We
is
could able to.
this is beautiful. You
Yes.
talked about marketing and sales alignment. That whatever you're marketing, whatever leads you're getting, you're not allowing those leads to get cooled down. You're passing it to your salespeople. You're also measuring the lead, that what is action being taken on the lead to conversion ratios, and there'll be many magic ratios. I'm very sure you would be measuring. So fantastic, Ashwinji. You've really. There is this saying which I don't like, but it's a true saying, that why waste a crisis? So you've really used this crisis to, I want to actually move to the next set of questions, and I'm going to go randomly. I will not go in the same orders as previously. So I will start with Saurabh. So Saurabh, I want to deep dive a little bit of since the acceleration is changing, the shift to a demand-led model is happening. The nature of challenges would also be different. So what is the current nature of challenges that you're seeing, and what is in the future that you see could be a trend? Over to you, Saurabh.
So I think there are few challenges which you have to address when you actually get into the digitalization mode and you start interacting with millennials or generation Y or Z. I think what has happened there, expectations are phenomenal. They expect that everybody will respond like Amazon, everybody will respond like Facebook. They want interfaces to be as good as Facebook interfaces. They want things to be as responsive as Amazon. And so the expectation goes up very high. And to satisfy those expectations, I think every company has to become a tech company. So, I mean, traditionally, when people used to look at Kent, they used to think it's a manufacturing company. These guys must be working on a lathe machine, drilling holes, etc. That's the kind of outlook that we had. But we are one of the largest CRM of people in India. So our CRM is one of the largest installation for one of a very big enterprise. So our cloud spendings is very high. So in the core, we are not a manufacturing company, we are a tech company, and that's what every organization, I think, which is doing a double-digit growth has to do. So if you are not a tech company at the core, if you are not data-driven, if you are not looking at what customer expects and what customer wants, I think that then you are going to perish very soon. And that's what I have seen in the past. So there are a lot of water purifier brands which were not able to cope up. They were not ready for it. They thought that water purifier market is going to be like a traditional market, but I think that has changed. So those brands have disappeared in the past year.
Sort of very valid point, and I wanted to deep dive into one more point. You're saying every company is a tech company, and we know that for Kent, the demand could be coming from anywhere. It could be metros, it could be non-metros.
Sure.
You could have different pockets of inventory. You could have kept the inventory somewhere else. So how are you managing all this? Little bit more deep dive onto that.
So we actually do a lot of analytics on our data, and we are able to do a very robust planning and management. So that's the core of it. So I'm proud to say, even in current times, I think our logistic chain has not moved around much, and we have a lot of so we take raw material, and most of the parts we do it in house. So there we have built that robust chain of vendors, supply chain, that is helping us now, and that has helped us. So I mean, I heard that there are certain brands which are not able to provide material to shops or distributor. I think luckily we have not faced such situation till now. So we plan it very well, and I think that is the core of our business.
Fantastic. Fantastic, sort of the way you're using analytics by predicting where possibly could be the best ways to keep the stock, and by managing all that and routing the logistics. It is fantastic thing to learn. I will move this question to Vishal. Vishal, since the rate of acceleration, as you know, has changed, and it is on the demand-led models. What are the key different kind of challenges which you've seen, and what do you see in the future?
See, the current set of challenges, again, now getting footfalls into the stores. Typically, our business is probably 80-20, or I would say probably 90-10. 90% we definitely rely on stores. So getting their confidence back is going to be a challenge. So that is where, again, we are seeing what technologies can actually help customers close sales, no matter in what mode they come in. So that way we are seeing what can be done. And I mean, what is going to happen? I don't know. It's a big question mark. We do not know how many more lockdowns are going to happen, how many more waves are going to come, how many more diseases are going to come. So this is something that I think as and when we get to know something, I think we just need to learn. As Mr. Saurabh said, I think every company, whether it's a small size company or a big size company, all of us need to adapt to the technology. And every company, whether it's the CEO or whether it's the CMO or whether it's the CIO, I think all of us need to learn technology today. So no more the CEO can say, no, listen, I have a CIO, I have my people, let's do it. I think he also has to learn today technology. Otherwise, his expectations versus our expectations are not going to meet.
Yeah, Vishal, please don't take away our jobs, Vishal.
But I was seeing Saurabh smile. He was kind of happy that, yeah, true. The CEOs also get to get their hands.
No, I'm much more worried if everybody becomes CIO, then nobody is going to ask for us.
No.
So Vishal, actually, I don't want to let you go so easily, and keeping a hopeful view of the world, keeping that maybe with this vaccination drive, we are able to get back. And I'm talking to our customers in the Middle East and in the US, and this is the feedback which they have got. In the Ramadan season in Dubai and Middle East, they have hit 90% of their sales volume of 2019, that is pre-pandemic. In the US, Disneyland is booked for the next 3 months. So it is a world that once you get through the vaccination, there is actually a human need to feel the world, and things are coming back. Of course, there are aspects of propensity to consume and purchasing power parity which will play in India, but still is a reasonable, hopeful view of the world which is coming from other parts to me from our customers. So keeping a hopeful view of the world, and let's say the store footfall, and I pray for store footfall improves for all of us, then what are the kind of tech aspects? It could be ordering by appointment, or it could be save the sale endless aisle, because you have...
Definitely endless aisle we've already considered, no doubt about that. And shop by appointment, I don't know, in a system of like India, where it sometimes few categories are impulse, few because of breakdowns, few are like, okay, fine, I'm passing by, let me drop in. So I think we have various customers. It's probably appointments, I would say, will take some more time in terms of maturity, at least to my understanding, with respect to retail or fashion. So I would say we will just have to adapt to whatever technologies that are available and say to the customer, listen, no matter which part of the world you are in, we can service you.
Correct.
So I think, yeah.
Sanjeev ji, I want to move to you. You know, the rate of acceleration is high, change is happening. That through demand-led models, sales is still not forecasting. They're still sandbagging and not giving a clear forecast. So, but how do you see the new view of the world? What are the key challenges, the new type of challenges you see? Over to you, sir. Sanjeev ji, you're on mute.
I think I'll talk about the last year pandemic, where probably the entire portfolio of the products got changed for us, where people didn't, when I'll take one item, for example, like the faucets, what we use, like some people maybe who understand the mixer or probably tap, which probably is very important these days to wash the hands, every time people say wash your hands. So it was a big learning lesson for us, because every time earlier we using mixers or maybe we pull the tap and use that, Suddenly, when this pandemic started, they said, okay, now we want sensor taps. Because everybody is afraid to touch the taps or maybe, So demand forecasts change for us to bring the sensors. At the same time, maybe China is closed. Maybe 2 months, China is closed. They are not able to supply anything. So this was a total drastic shift for the market. And same time, maybe a sales guy was saying, okay, no, we cannot sell the traditional items. Now we have to move to the technology items. So for me, like although I had a team sitting in China, but they were all flown back because of the pandemic and very bad scenario in China. But still, with our relationship in China, probably we could still get the sensors, and probably although we are not able to fulfill the demand completely 100%, but almost about 60 to 70% demand we could fulfill, where the market dynamics totally changed for the product, And same time, we had a challenge that probably everywhere hospitals were getting set up, railways was doing this setup for the COVID patients and all, So probably again, this thing also came in handy for us that time. When the product shift happened, we are first to get these products listed there. We had probably the sales also got ramped up very quickly because our company had products to sell to these customers. So that experience for us actually prepared us in advance for this year. If we are not prepared last year, So this year probably we had enough inventory for the sensors coming from some premier sensors coming from the European market, some coming from the China market. So we are prepared very in advance. So this time when all this closure happened, although the sales are again maybe at increased level for these products, but we are prepared for this year, So this is
Great.
what I would say. Probably this particular item, it took us by surprise, but same time, it did a bigger sales for us also going forward.
Great, Sanjeev ji. And very important points, like to move the assortment in line with the demand, whatever is the demand. If there's a quick change, you have to move the assortment, segment-wise planning. That whatever segment is going to stay ready with that. I'll quickly move to Tanay. Tanay, what is what is your viewpoint on the question?
This just became like a Viva, class interview for me. Oh, up the question like, oh, would I be knowing it or not? Yeah, I was just listening to everybody. I was listening to Vishal, I was listening to Saurabh ji, Sanjeev ji, and that is true. And how to say, they all are correct. And coming from Indian middle class family, you're always hopeful that things are going to change for better, right? So we see there was this forecast initially in I think in January itself there was this forecast that retail will be haphazard. Q1 and Q2 it will be haphazard, and Q3 onwards it will start growing. And yes, 2021 would either be equal to 2019 or it will be better than 2019. We cannot count 2020. Although ideally our 2020 as well, also we did not have much of a downfall because of the online sales, it increased. And those things, I would not say only online sales, using the online methods to convert the offline sales, if we are getting the leads and all. So we transferred them to our retail partners in that PIN code, right? So you support us, we support you. So we transfer it to them, and yes, we are getting some good numbers. If we say numbers, I would say that out of 10 leads that we get, we convert 1 or 2 leads. Okay. But, if we count it in percentage, that is roughly 15 to 20%, right? So this is not less. And
that's
from those 10,
that's a fantastic number.
Yeah, correct. And from those 10 leads, I worked in the services department for some time, the service centers and all. So I understand, what customers want and how would they want it. So yes, from those leads, we are getting the numbers for our service thing as well, that, I have this thing in my phone and how can you do that? So we also started, pick up and delivery of your mobile phones. So that is what we also started. So that is again, you are giving a 360-degree experience to the customer. And if we talk about how to say appointments in retail and all right now in India, like Vishal said, we do not see it in near future, especially for all these mobile phones and all. So we do not see it in near future, honestly. But yes, now the customers, they are much more mature as compared to 2018 and 2019. What we saw is that if there is a law in the state that one shop, particularly when it is open, only 3 people or 4 people can stay inside, right? And other people cannot stay inside. So customers were actually agreeing to that. When the partner asked the customers to stay out, they all agreed this is something that we saw, and it was good. Otherwise कितनी बार तो सबके साथ में you me है, सबके तो चाचा विधायक है हमारे, right? But it is not happening now. People, they are agreeing to things. They are concerned about their own safety. They are concerned about the safety of the other person standing with them. And yes, so customer mindset has also changed. People have become humble, and yes, the demand is growing. It will grow definitely. Q3 and Q4 will be much better.
Tanay, I also want to add that what I am seeing is people are asking a lot about shop a store for their website, because they are saying that the store is actually a temple of the brand. We want to see before we go to the temple of the brand that whether that product or the assortment is in the liking of the size, color, option that I need. That's first thing that I'm seeing as a trend. Second, there are these premium pieces, premium mobile phones, and they want to ensure that those pieces are available for a demo if they are traveling to the store, or in fact it is outbound now. So the store is calling up because you have actually streamlined the entire marketing and the sales process from leads to becoming marketing qualified lead to become sales qualified leads. So lead to MQL to SQL is streamlined. So the store is generating a lead and booking a appointment for seeing the premium pieces. So that's one of the trends that I am seeing. So I just wanted to share that with you. I want to quickly jump to Ashwin ji. Ashwin ji, I want to you had fantastic points of D2C and fantastic points on marketing automation and sales automation. So how was the kind of challenge this new acceleration growth has newer set of challenges that has created for you, and what do you see in the future, Ashwin ji?
Yeah. So this challenges are like, challenge is typically a change management sort of challenge we face, that when we launch any initiative, like, like when we were talking, we are also seeing now this time thinking of going for SNOP, like, where you can forecast your demand for a particular region, for particular area. So again, when it comes to this SNOP maturity curves, it takes 2 to 3 years of time. So there is always a resistance within your system only to say that, hey, this we can do in Excel sheet. Similarly, when you roll out any digital initiative, the challenges are always, because our guys are saying, sir, after 3 years, it will give us the result. Why to invest into it? But similarly, the example is like company like Asian Paint is successfully using SNOP, and they know that in which store, what color, when they need it. But that has come after 8 to 9 years of their vigorous trial. So similarly, the challenges are sometime within, sometime outside also. Like when we have a 35,000 distributors, we have a 1,000 plus our authorized service provider, convincing them to use the app, convincing them to use the WhatsApp for business to register the complaint. Definitely it requires a lot of change management, but again, now they have accepted the reality that this will be the future, and they are accepting it. So the future will be, as you are rightly saying, that tomorrow it may happen that one of my product I have to ship to the end customer and say that, hey, you use for 1 month, and if you like, you pay me back. I'm giving you one example. We recently purchased a video conferencing solution from VU company. What is that term? You use it for 1 month. If you like, pay money, otherwise we will take it back. But they are so confident about their product. By third week, I send them a money. So now this is going to be a so similarly, we are thinking like, we also have some industrial applications coolers, where we can think of, that for large cooler, this may be the future, that yes, you use for a couple of days and see how it performs. So no, this type of trend will be there, because it is not practically going to happen that you will be going there demoing them. Now this was happened because they were not able to come fly to Ahmedabad, give a demo. So they says, we are shipping product to you. You install, if you like, pay us, but we are sure that you will definitely like it. So this may be the paradigm shift. It is going to happen. The way we are selling the goods, the way we are approaching the customer, there has to be change. I mean, even today, if you want to consult doctor, you go to Practo and see whether can I get online consultation. You will it won't happen that you will go and stand in queue for appointment. So there's everything, like it's whether it's otherwise our company is in business last 28 years, never thought of going for a B2C. But so this is what I think there will be definitely a lot of changes are going to there, and customer are going to be mature on digital platform as the period pass.
No, beautiful points, Ashwinji, and especially on the change management piece which you have mentioned. I have launched in the last 1.5 years so many incentive programs
Right.
to ensure that, because it is not just a technology switch that you take out one switch and put another switch. It is a process switch.
Right.
And some new initiative is a germinating initiative. It will take as some time to give results. If you don't allow that initiative to germinate, it will get killed. So for process,
It require a lot of patience, management, support, because it won't happen that any initiative will rock in first time. There will be it's a bumpy ride,
Correct.
But if you really give it time, patience is definitely, second year or third year time. By the time it get mature, it will really start giving you the fruit.
Correct, with you on this. I also want to pick up brains of Ganesh. Ganesh, you want to share your viewpoint on with this accelerated pace? What are the newer set of challenges you are facing, and what do you see in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just go slightly tangential to what other esteemed panelists have mentioned. So see, we are a professional service organization and a combination of product. We also have a flagship product called Phantom, which is a complete subscription-based modeling. So I'll just touch upon it at the last point of my current discussion. See, we have to fulfill demands to the respective requirement, right? So, and we had a very messy fulfilling process, right, for outsourcing. For example, for an outsourcing spend, which is a $50 million spend for RBI. That means on any day, we will be having at least 4,000 plus capacity of resources who will be working on demand fulfillment. Be it engineering services, be it mobility, be it hyper automation, be it digital transformation, be it software product or software evangelism. So the problem was, how can we have a digital maturity index from the order creation till the demand fulfillment and the delivery assurance? So there is no typical process or digital product or digital ERP in place, right? That was a very big ask from our outsourcing operation team from straight away from the CFO office, because this is one of the most important lever of the organization. Because of 25,000 people, we can't wait for 6 months. I think Ashwinji and Saurav has already mentioned about it, because today the speed is the criteria, right? And cloud first, mobile first, data first, all these things are part of the evangelizing option of digital transformation. So we got a requirement to fulfill of an application for this demand fulfillment of a $50 to $75 million spend within short span of 6 to 12 weeks. This was one of the biggest challenge in the pandemic, because last time it was more of brick and mortar. You had a typical body shop running and you fulfill it. And we have to really transform at a business model engagement itself, being a professional service and product organization. Having said that, we have to change the model, number one. Number two, we also have to create an ecosystem for the digital transformation for fulfillment of demand. These two have been a major requirement, and the size is not a joke. It's 4,000 to 5,000 any day, and it's a $50 to $70 million spend every year, right? So we adopted towards a very new thinking. We went to the commercially off-the-shelf solution, and we went to typically SAP, we went to Beeline and other demand management solution, and we finally found Zoho, which is a very quick solution with low-code, no-code platform. And within 12 weeks, we operationalized it. So now the entire operations of outsourcing is happening in digital business solution called Zoho. So this was one of the biggest achievement or accomplishment, mainly
Great.
to fulfill the heart of our business.
Great, great. It is fantastic input. The point of a digital maturity index is very good. How do you see that we are maturing digitally? As we are approaching towards the closure of the panel discussion, and the richest part which I have received is the various experience and deep dive of each of the various categories. I want to hear from you just in a minute, each of you one by one, that how do you think is the the demand-led model, the way it is evolving, how it will proceed further, and what's your next 3 years of forecast? That how will the demand-led model proceed in the next 3 years, and what will be the challenges it will create or opportunities it will create for you? I will start with Sanjeev ji. Sanjeev ji, in a minute or two, if you can talk about how.
We had a very interesting experience over the last 2 years, where probably demand and supply had a lot of gaps, But I believe maybe going forward also for next 1 or 2 years, I think we'll have the stoppage of the business. At the same time, after the business gets open, there will be surge in the demand. So probably this kind of scenario, I think, will keep happening over next maybe 1 to 2 years unless we get out of the pandemic, So in a nutshell, probably we'd like to keep some more inventories in system so that we are able to maybe fulfill the demand in the near future, which comes just after the probably this maybe the business disruption happens.
Sure.
Probably this will be very important for any business. And second thing is probably if the inventories are getting piled up, of course, probably it will require additional cash flows in the system to build up these inventories. At the same time, probably this can be supported in terms of the I would say maybe when you can get the money very quickly from the distributor, dealers, online, offline, maybe probably I think this can be really taken care of. Where probably I think the person from Oppo, I don't remember his name, he's saying probably people are moved from the lower category of phones to the higher category of phones. Probably one example, good example, but probably you can create a maybe higher cash flows there, which can maybe take care for the probably inventory or maybe demand, but probably you have to take care for the disruption in business.
Sure, Sanjeev ji. Tanay, since Sanjeev ji already called you, I will move it to you. What do you think?
Our own R&D is very, very, very important, combined with all the technological aspects that we are working on. I don't know how many of people would agree, but there is this quote associated with Henry Ford. If I asked the customers that what do you want, they said faster horses. So they did not know that they want cars. They were using horses.
I agree.
But after research, if we go into meta research, so you will see that yes, there are things that are demand led, but okay, what would you want? Right now, you are getting a 3 gigs of phone in, let's say, hypothetically, you are getting 3 gigs of phone in, let's say, 12,000, 13,000 example. And okay, what would you want in 13,000, 14,000? Oh, I would want 4 gigs now. Okay, but okay, I'll give you 3 gigs and I'll give you a 5G device now. Oh yes, I'll go for a 5G device. That will be that will be much important for me in long run for next 1 year, 2 years. So definitely yes, the demand-led model is there, but we also need to see from our point of view, our supply chain, what our availability of the raw material is, considering the things are all haywired right now. The world, all the companies, are trying to bounce back to normal. So definitely there are few things that would not be available. There are few things that will be available in abundance. So how in the best way we can create a good value for our partners as well as our
Correct.
consumers.
Correct. And you cannot afford to have a lot of wastage. It has to be real value and streamlined what customer wants through our research, through the demand-led model. But you can't have wastage.
Absolutely.
Fantastic point. I would, move to Vishal. We're sort of from the same industry. Vishal, what's your take in the next couple of years? How does the demand-led model?
After a couple of years, 2 years back, I would have said, yes, I have a vision, I have a thing. But even next year seems to be a vision. Yeah. So considering all that, I mean, I think few things that we need to keep in mind from a retailer's angle is definitely have lean inventory, reduce the number of hubs, directly see how we can tie up with brands or distributors where they can supply for us. That way, I think the quality of inventory will go up. That will help them in terms of the demand and planning. They know that how each retailer, no matter what dashboards we give it to them, end of the day, there is a delay of information. But this is something that they know that, okay, whether it's this account or X account, knows that this so many pieces can be done. So I would say if this technology sort of adapts between all of us, that way, whether it's the manufacturer, whether it's the distributor, whether it's the retailer, it'll bridge the gap. So irrespective of the industry that we are in, I think all three of us have to be on the same page to see how we can actually make use of the resources that are available during this time.
Absolutely. Between all parties, there can be no wastage and of course the alignment, the flow has to be very proper. Lean inventory, very important point. Saurabh-ji, what is your take on this?
I feel personally, I think vendor localization is one of the key things which will happen now. So that is started happening. People are actually looking at localized vendor which can provide them raw material or whatever the support that they need, and that will continue to happen. I think the second aspect which I think is happening is there is a lot of focus now on planning, optimization, data analytics, which this pandemic has brought in. So I've seen a lot of my colleagues who never looked at or opened any Excel sheet have suddenly started looking at those data, because previously they had inventory in abundance everywhere. Now they have to suddenly figure out, okay, this is what I can do, and let me not fool around with it. So I think that that being said, customer experience is also one of the key aspects which will happen. When you bring in this kind of digitalization, you bring in customers who are empowered, who are tech savvy. I think the expectation from them is going to be key, and they will expect you a lot of customization in the product, which as per their need, it can be related to colors, it can be related to specific geographical product or localization, customization. So I think these three things is what hit me, that these are the things that will impact.
Absolutely, Saurabh, and especially one of the points I want to expand, the customer experience aspect, and a lot is what I'm also seeing, is to be able to predict the next best action of the customer. What could be the next best action for the customer? How to increase the lifetime value from the customer. Also, like all of us, I'm sure would not have read every SMS we would have received in our phone, because there is so much over communication. How to communicate to the customer the right thing which they want to hear, how to have a unified promo plan, all these aspects, and of course with D2C is very important side, and very valid point, not just which you raise is not just fulfillment side of it, but the marketing side of it is also, because the customer is very savvy and tuned to the brand that we have to do.
I think it's not just the messaging, Tapan. I think it's the timing of the messaging is also very important. I think when you get that pizza notification on Friday evening that okay, 15% discount on cheeseburger pizza, suddenly you order it, and then if you get it on Monday morning, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with it.
And also, Saurabh, as you talked about, take inputs, like you've talked about, to take inputs that what do they want, and then tune it according to the customer. I want to bring in very quickly Ashwin ji here. Ashwin, you want to add how in the next 2-3 years things will?
Yeah, so next 2-3 years, see, it is like a customer behavior is very important. The how customer would be more, I would say, customer would be more demanding in terms of features. So we have to also understand, that how the customer behavior will be. And second, as he's saying, we have to also work out the optimization of the inventories. Like we have to make sure that right offerings to the end customer, not be so inventory part also. And third, it is very important what I am thinking of, maybe we have to really work on our offerings. Today what the product you are offering, tomorrow you may have to venture into the services, because so this is the three aspect apart from other panelists told. I would
Chris,
say that we have to also think of the innovative offering, I would say, because customer who will not be interested all the time to receive the services or the product the way he is receiving. So this will be also a for industry to think of.
very crisp,
Traditional things won't work. That's what I wanted to say.
very crisply put, the double whammy of a demanding customer and to have the sharp inventory, because the customer's demanding trends may change. It could be a choppy trend, as already
Yes.
Sanjeev ji had mentioned. Ganeshan, I just want to reach to you, if in a couple of minutes, if you can talk what the couple of years are seeing next in front of us. Over to you.
Yeah, I think I'm really at a very advantageous position at being at last but one. Good. So I think digital supply chain, right? Because the digital supply chain is one of the quintessential parts which I strongly believe, in which the end-to-end 360 view of predictability from a supply chain visibility is number one, right? I think that is the very first aspect. Be it any retail or any demand led supply, right? Be it professional service, be it product, or be it FMCG, or be it any of us in the ecosystem. That is number one. And number two, I think data, right? Data as the very first, the data has always been an oil. It is not a new oil. It is an untapped oil, right? So the leveraging of the data is, I think, which has been underplayed, is what is I believe over the last few years. But I think a lot of focus we need to give on data. And number three is to have a nimble and a liquid business model. So we can't have a very solid, robust business model which will be cornerstone for ages. That era is gone. Today we need to have a very, very nimble, liquid, plastic business model which you can pivot at any point of time. And the most important lever to pivot this is the data and the digital supply chain. So when you have the nexus of 1, 2, and 3, so you have a comprehensive ecosystem aligning with the customer experience platform, because it has always been, customer has always been addressed as a reactive measure. And there has to be a sales guy separately. No, sales as a service has to be uniform across the organization, including the last person or the first person who is a security officer of our office, until the CIO or the board and the CFO has to be the salesperson. The sales as a persona has to be part of the entire value chain. And if these four has covered, I think we can address any pandemic or any unforeseen as part of the VUCA world. That's my summary.
Fantastic, Ganeshan. Beautiful points put across. And when I got into business, one of my mentors taught me that sales is not selling something. Sales is helping a customer buy, and that has always helped me keep the right perspective in talking about sales. I'm really indebted to every one of you for sharing your viewpoints, and I have gathered the viewpoints. I've learned a lot in this session. Uh, for me, this acceleration of demand, as I've already talked about in the past, has been tremendous. We've seen 5x, 6x kind of digital demand come. We've seen Save the Sale, Endless Aisle solutions really scale up with some of our customers like Wildcraft, like some of them like Bata, or in electronics, Vijay Sales. The entire demand shift to digital, we've been able to successfully do that, and I feel that our habits have changed, and in the future there will be a combination of online offline buying, and I couldn't have said any of those things better than you or you all folks. So fantastic for sharing your inputs with me. I look forward to meeting you, talking to one-on-one again, and it's been a fantastic learning for me. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. As McKinsey says, right, it is going to be phygital, physical plus digital, right? So that's going to be the new phenomenon. And very well said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ganesh. Sanjeev ji, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Lovely connecting with everybody.
Thank you, everyone.